Here. My first question is for Umar Babili. First of all, I'm happy that you are safe today and that the incident involving you did not turn fatal. A simple question for you. Do you believe that the person that attacked you did so because you were Muslim? What do you believe drove him to take such violent and despicable measures to go out and try to ram someone with their car that was visibly Muslim?
Thank you for your question. There are multiple factors that came in this. So, first of all, I think what agitated him was we protesting for Palestine that day. But I can say there's Islamophobia in it as well, because after the incident happened and the police arrested him, he was saying racist comments to the other protester who was arguing with him earlier. Like, for example, go back to your country, or other racist comments as well. So it's both. It's about Islam and about us protesting for Palestine that day that agitated him towards doing what he did to me. Thank you.
My next question is, do you feel that your university has stood by your side in this horrible incident? Do you feel that they are protecting you and the other Muslim students on the campus? So if you can explain a bit.
Thank you. I don't feel after the incident happened, no one reached out to me from my university, nor the department of the university, even though I contacted them. I explained to them my situation of what happened, but it seems like they did not care of what happened to me. No one reached out to me. I had to go through my exams. It was very stressful for me to go through. I had 4 exams and they were finals, very hard subjects, but I had to navigate this on my own. They did not reach out to me or show any concern.
Thank you. My next question is for Ali Islam. Mr. Islam, first of all, I'm so sorry for the loss of your family members in an Islamophobic act of terrorism. Do you feel that justice was served through the court process? Or do you feel the same environment of hate and Islamophobia that led to this tragic act of terror still exists in Canada today?
I think the justice system did what it could under the limits it's operating under. And there are constraints, and I'll explain some of them. Even what I know about the committee is interested in learning about Islamophobia. Islamophobia is not one disease entity. There are many different types, and it has many different manifestations. The most benign form, if we can look at it from a disease model, is born from ignorance about Muslims. And there's a sly and sinister form born from, let's say, geopolitics, where anti-Muslim hatred is used as a justification to keep Muslim voices out of the top spheres of power and influence. And that's intentional. There's a form of Islamophobia that comes from the far left, and there's a form of Islamophobia born from white nationalism. And that type goes hand in hand with anti-Semitism, misogyny, anti-Black racism, anti-LGBT. So there are many different paths to the same end result. And what we don't understand, I think, is how when Islamophobia goes up in one of these categories, how it affects the other. This is where I think where governments, parliament, and academics can add value. And if you don't look at all the different building blocks of hate, I don't think you're going to get to some of the root causes behind the hatred that does exist. There's another element which really is trying to catch up to the times. The way that hatred was spread in the past is very different than it is now. And the technology companies have a large role to play because they're not simple conduits of information. There's a way of getting radicalized and falling into echo chambers and filter bubbles that happens online. And that's another big piece that we have to catch up on. And simple fact checking isn't enough to keep people falling into circles of hate. Source checking needs to be a big variable in how we look at how hate is spread. Because I don't think we're doing a good job right now.
Thank you. Quick question. You mentioned in your testimony also about hate being transferred. And the second aspect which you touched on is about your son mentioning to learn about your neighbors. You mentioned to CBC also that people should take the time to get to know their neighbors and people who are different than them. So how can we encourage that at the community level, and what can we as public leaders do in that?
If I go back to some of the building blocks of Islamophobia, that's the most benign form of Islamophobia, just general unexposure or ignorance to Muslims. Maybe you've never actually come across a Muslim in your life. There are large parts of Canada where that's certainly possible. Yes, telling more Muslim stories, having more Muslim voices, that would be one method of doing it. But when you go back to the role of government and parliament, I think Parliament has to figure out how to tell Canadians, the 95% of Canadians who are not Muslim, why it's important to combat anti-Islamophobia and other forms of hatred, right? If it doesn't affect the majority, how is protection of the minority better for the whole country?
Thank you, Dr. Islam.